In today's tutorial, I'm serving up 50 beginner-level doodles to help get you in the mood for spring. Hey friends, welcome back. My name is Shayda Campbell, and today we're just going to get started because we've got 50 spring doodles to get to. Let's do a simple flower. We start with a curving stem, this lumpy 4-petal area, dark in the middle, and maybe add a leaf or two. Spring is all about the greenery, so practice doing some simple sprigs with pairs of oval-shaped leaves. And then let's have some fun. I want to do a spring Shayda, a little self-portrait. I'm going to do a round area for my head, drop down and do my neck. I'm going to show you how to draw sunglasses, so I'll place some sunnies there. And we'll do my new curly dark hair and then a big old sun hat sitting on top of my head. Don't worry, we're going over everything in pen. So sunglasses, 2 circles joined by that little U shape in the middle, and then darken up the very center with some line shading. So there's your sunglasses. If you're doing a little self-portrait, keep the head shape simple, round or oval. Do some little wavy lines for hair. Frame everything with this big floppy oval of a sun hat, and then just give yourself a simple neckline and shoulders. That's all you really need, and then a semicircle to finish off that hat, and you can kind of see just a little bit of ribbon before the hat hits the brim. I'm doing like a little bit of line shading, maybe some crisscrosses to show texture on the hat, some stripes on my shirt, and that's spring Shayda. Want extra help with these doodles plus bonus content every week? You can join my Patreon. It's only $2 a month or $22 for the year. This week you'll be getting a worksheet to guide you through some doodles, and as a new patron, you're going to want to binge on the last 4 years worth of bonus tutorials, like last week's real-time watercolor floral painting. Okay, how about we do some daisies together? Start with a circle and then go around and do these messy little petals. They can be very perfectly imperfect. And then if you want to do 2, I like to just do 3 petals and that same circle, and it looks sort of like a flower on an angle. Add a few messy leaves and the stems joining them together, and it's really sweet. Here's a simple way to draw a rose. Start with a spiral, then add shaggy semicircle leaves all the way around, framing that spiral. 1 or 2 pointed oval-shaped leaves and a bit of line shading, and you're all done. We're also just getting warmed up, so we're going to draw some more little sprigs of greenery, tiny little pairs of leaves along a curving stem. And when you're doing doodles like this, just think about changing the size and shape of the leaf to come up with all kinds of spring options. While we're doodling flowers, let's draw a bouquet. So this is fun. We do these little dark circles, and then you surround the circle with this scribbly mess of petals. It's just very blob shaped, really. And you're going to do a large cluster of these flowers. They look really graphic and doodly, and we're going to join all of them with some thin lines for stems, maybe put a few leaves there, and you can always put a few leaves in behind the flowers or framing them on the sides. How about a cluster of tulips? For these flowers, I like to do kind of a long semicircle that comes to a ruffled or scalloped edge at the top. Do some little lines right at the top center to show that the tulips are concave, and finish with long, thin leaves that come to a point. Next up, a cluster of strawberries. I like to do these little circles that have almost a little bit of a point at the bottom, and then you just do a shaggy leaf right at the top and some dots on them to make them look like berries. And if you want to draw these as a cluster, you can join them together with little curly Q lines and even add some tiny little 4 and 5 petal flowers and shaggy leaves. You can darken some of the leaves if you like. This one's one of those doodles that you can really take as far as you want and make it as large or as small as you like. Okay, a garden snail. Start with a spiral for his shell, and then you're going to place this little worm body underneath, 2 little antennae and a smiling face. Springtime means sunshine, so let's start with a circle for the sun. You can give him a happy face and then go around and add this scalloped edge. I think that's just a fun way to draw the sun. We could also do a rain cloud because spring means rain, and we can do little rain droplets there if you like. These weather doodles I think are especially nice in a bullet journal. How about a little ladybug? We'll draw a circle with a semicircle for the head. And I like to start this one in pencil because I like to sketch the little wings there. But really beyond that, you can just go over it in pen, divide that circle bug into 2 little wings. You're going to darken the sort of butt at the back and the head, add some little antennae and some spots to show that it's a ladybug. Our next one also starts in pencil. It's a little chick, and I like to work out the shape, which is basically an egg shape with 2 little wings. Speaking of eggs, we'll draw some eggs as well. So we've got a few doodles here, but the reason I do the chick, and that's the one we'll focus on first in pencil, is because when I go over it in pen, I like to do all these tiny little lines for his contour drawing, and that makes him look super feathery. You can do a diamond shape for the beak and 2 little eyes. Then for the egg, just go around the egg shape, add some speckling to make it look like a robin's egg. And for the second one, we're going to draw a broken egg, so having a pencil outline is really helpful when you draw the cracked portion right through the middle. What would spring be without a kite? For this one, you want to do a diamond shape, but just make it really fluid and a little messy. Draw that cross through the middle and maybe add some flags sort of curling off at the end so it looks like it's in motion. It looks like it's really flying in the spring breeze. Want to see some of these illustrations in color? I did brush pen spring doodles, and that is available to watch on my Instagram and my TikTok. Yeah, I'm now on TikTok at Shayda Campbell for both TikTok and Instagram. And let's work in the same area to draw a birdhouse. You want to start with that birdhouse shape with the peaked roof. Then you can kind of add a thick line across the roof. And if you like, you can make the birdhouse, a little bit wide and give it that perspective. But the main thing is draw this circle or oval on the front, darken it, add a peg for the bird to sit on, and finish it off with a post. Next up, ice cream. Let's do a long semicircle with a squiggly bottom and a rounded triangle for the cone. Add a little crisscross for that waffle cone look. Let's do a little flower pot. 2 curving lines joined by 2 more curving lines on each end. Drop down and do the small little pot. Add some lumpy black dirt, maybe a little line shading, and then you can just draw as many little messy doodly flowers in there as you like. We're getting into gardening stuff now, so let's try some scissors. We begin with a U, and then on each side of that U, you're going to draw a kind of oval shape. Drop down and do a long, thin triangle, and that'll be the shears, and then you can thicken up the top part to give the look of the handles. Next, we'll draw a seed packet. So start with a kind of wonky square and add a little thin rectangle at the top and the bottom. We'll write seeds, and you can draw an apple or a pumpkin or something. And then I just add a little bit of line shading on the packet edge. Let's draw some garden veggies, starting with peas. We'll do an oval that comes to a point at the top and the bottom and do 3 circles within that oval. And you can do some curly Q lines to make them look fresh from the garden. And these are always nice to draw in a cluster. How about a little radish? I start with a shaggy leaf, and then we do that rounded veggie that comes to a bit of a point and that curling line to show the root. That could also be a beet, frankly. We'll draw some tomatoes. They're just short, fat circles with a shaggy leaf across the top and maybe a little highlight. We'll start in pencil to sketch our trowel and cultivator. So a little rounded triangle, drop down and do a handle. For the cultivator, I just do like a funny, chubby fork almost, and then the same sort of handle shape. You could put some lines at the base of the trowel's triangular part there and just go around and do the rounded handles. Those are really simple, and they definitely look like spring. Let's try drawing a basket together. This is one that I like to start in pencil. You'll work out the shape of the handle and the shape of the basket, put a little rim across the top and do a loose crisscross, very loose to give the look of basket weave, and then some lines along the handle. I like to do the flowers as well, just some messy spirals and leaves, and you want them to overlap the top of the basket so that when you start going over everything in pen, it looks like the flowers are really popping out of this basket. And just a reminder that if you need a little extra guidance with some of these illustrations, I've got a worksheet with 10 of today's illustrations on it. That's available for my channel patrons. And not only do you get a worksheet, but I've also drawn out this entire doodle page so you can use it as a reference or you can use it as a coloring page. I know a lot of you like to see a still image of the work, so head to patreon.com/Shayda Campbell and support the channel. You're going to do a bit of a lumpy edge on that basket, a rounded bottom, and then as I said, keep the crisscross really loose to give a basket weave look. And then once that's complete, you could do some thinner, lighter lines to complete the texture and the shading. Add a few tiny leaves and darken the center of those flowers, and that is your spring flower basket complete. Okay, watering can. Starting in pencil, draw a rectangle with a swooping handle that goes from the top corner to the opposite bottom corner. We'll go over everything in pen. Rectangle, you've got this spout, that's a little oval, and then this funny big old handle. You could also just do a regular handle on the left-hand side, totally up to you. Add some line shading, some little dots on the spout, maybe darken the very top, and the whole thing comes together pretty easily. Let's doodle a little tree, like a sapling, fresh from the nursery, the tree shop. We're going to start with a line, and then you're just going to draw this little bag at the bottom, maybe add some crisscrossing to show that it is burlap. We'll thicken up that middle line and add some branches, thickening them just slightly as you go, and you can make this as simple and small or large and complex as you like. And then I'm just going to draw some pointed oval-shaped leaves, and they don't quite connect to the branches. Maybe some of them do. So it's quite a cutesy little sapling doodle, and we can draw some smaller leaves in there as well. Continuing with our garden stuff, how about a crate of herbs or sort of a raised garden? I draw a rectangle and then divide it into 3 and then make that into 3 pieces of wood. From there, we'll sketch in something small like rosemary, and we'll even put a little garden label. And then I did it in pencil first, so we'll go over everything in pen, sketching those 3 thin rectangles that make up the shape of the box and just leaving some negative space in between, which will darken later. I'm also going to do some line shading to show that this crate or raised bed is wood. And then I'm just going to do this messy, sketchy sort of herb looking garden. So lots of tiny little leaves that don't all quite connect. And to finish it, we'll just darken up the spaces between the boards. Next, I think we need a little butterfly. Start with a circle and then that curving body, thicken it all up and add some antennae. And then just 2 little wings, and you can add as much detail in those wings as you like. Next, we need a little duck or a goose. You start with his head and neck and then come around and just do this semicircle rounded body that comes to a point for the tail. Add a wing on that rounded body, a little half wing on the other side, and then give him a triangular beak and 1 or 2 eyes, depending on how wonky you want him to look. I think we also need an umbrella. Start in pencil and draw that long semicircle and then do a little scalloped edge along the bottom. You can add some stripes if you like. We'll add a little point at the top, the cane-shaped handle, just that long curving line. And once you're happy with the shape, you can go over everything in pen. Little lumpy line across the bottom, little point at the top, lines down the length of the umbrella, and that thickened handle right at the bottom. Add a little line shading or some sort of pattern on the umbrella, darken the handle a little bit, and that's it, you're all done. Wouldn't be spring without a bunny. Round head, 2 pointy ears. This is going to be really simple. A round body with a tail and 2 little semicircles for the arms. And then he's got his cute little face with the whiskers. You go over it in pen once you're happy with the pencil, but it's super simple, but he is quite cute, let's be honest. We drew a chick, but I'd like to try another bird. And this one, you do the large wing, and you kind of do this rounded body surrounding the wing, a tail shooting up, and a little triangular beak. So triangular beak, swooping round body that surrounds that wing shape, his little tail that goes up, maybe a few lines to show feathers, tiny legs, and 1 beady little eye. Let's doodle a sun hat together. Start with a shallow semicircle and then sketch this large shallow oval around it. Maybe put a ribbon, and again, we'll do some like crisscross or lines to show texture on the hat. You could add a bow. Pencil first, I think, is easiest. Go over it in pen, sketch in the ribbon, the little bow or messy part, go around and do that swooping oval shape for the brim, and then a little bit of line shading and a bit of a crisscross cross-hatching gives a lot of texture to the straw summer hat. Here's one I always enjoy doodling, a bouquet of fresh market flowers. Start with 3 circles for the flowers, drop down and you're going to draw the shape of the paper wrapped around them, some little stems and a bow, maybe a few leaves in there. This one's definitely better to start in pencil and work out all your shapes ahead of time, but it is simple shapes, little lines for the stems, dark ovals for the leaves, and then it's just that paper that you need to sketch in. Draw your bow and those thin stems coming out the bottom, and then that bit of brown market paper connects and comes to a point along the top. It's getting tricky to sketch at the bottom of the book here. Let's keep it real simple from here on out. How about a tiny little sailboat? That would be cute for a spring bullet journal entry. Little boats floating on the water, just triangle sails and a semicircle for the shape of the boat. How about a little potted herb? You could do a row of these in a journal weekly layout. Just do the shape of the flower pot, add an oval label so that you can write basil or rosemary or whatever, and do some leafy shapes up top. I can barely draw in this little corner, so let's try a crocus. We're doing this lumpy flower shape. Just put a little oval in the center for the stamen and add some tiny leaves. Pretty cute. How about a little worm? Curving line and then just thicken it, bring his tail to a point and add an eye, maybe a few lines. Also berries. Berries could be cute for spring. A couple circles, join them with stems, add that little dot at the top and as many leaves as you like. We definitely need a bumblebee. Start with the body shape and then add a little rounded head. You can put some stripes on him and his little stinger, and then, give him a cute face if you like, or you could just darken the head and add 2 tiny wings, one on each side. We're getting to the end now. It wouldn't be spring without some green leaves, and I'm just doing these pointed oval shapes, couple lines for veining on them. You can draw them in clusters or one by one. We'll doodle some tiny flies or bugs, just little brown dots with a heart shape for the wings. And from here, I want to make sure the entirety of this sketchbook page looks good, so I'm filling in areas, adding a bit of line shading where I need it. And my final doodle of the day is the cherry blossom. A little floral with dots right at the center to show that delicate stamen. You can do some heart-shaped buds and join it all together with some branches to give that cherry blossom look. What I like to do to finish a piece like this is just draw some little floral and leafy doodles anywhere where there's a little too much negative space so that the entirety of the sketchbook piece looks balanced. But that's pretty much it for my spring doodles. 50 of them. We did 50, you guys. If you would like some more guidance, I took the 10 doodles that I thought were the most tricky, the trickiest, and put those on Patreon as a worksheet so you can see them step by step. You can also head over to my Instagram or TikTok. I'm now on TikTok to see some of these doodles in color. So at Shayda Campbell for both of those platforms. And finally, here's the supply rundown for today's tutorial. I worked in a mixed media sketchbook from Canson. It has nice thick toothy white paper. I used 1 fine liner. This is the Mulatto Black Liner, the 0.5 millimeter nib. I used a mechanical pencil, a gum eraser, and that is it. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you soon with a new tutorial.